BTS's Jin has steadily carved out a compelling solo identity, and the strong reception of his solo album and standalone tracks on Spotify underscores both his artistic growth and the depth of listener appreciation worldwide, as reflected in consistently high ratings, sustained streaming momentum, and a wave of fan-driven engagement that extends far beyond initial release cycles. Known for his crystalline tenor and emotionally intuitive delivery, Jin approaches solo work with a storyteller's instinct, favoring melodies that breathe and arrangements that give space to lyrics about longing, self-reflection, gratitude, and quiet resilience, and this sincerity translates directly into how audiences receive the music on streaming platforms, where high saves, favorable listener scores, and long-tail playlist placements signal genuine connection rather than fleeting hype. His solo album presents a cohesive arc that balances warmth and restraint, moving fluidly between acoustic textures, soft pop, and subtle rock influences, and the production choices, clean guitar lines, restrained percussion, and layered harmonies, highlight his voice without overwhelming it, a decision that Spotify listeners seem to reward with repeat plays and positive ratings that suggest comfort listening as much as admiration. What stands out most in the data-driven environment of Spotify is the durability of Jin's tracks, which continue to attract new listeners through algorithmic discovery while retaining core fans who return for the emotional clarity his songs provide, an indicator that the music functions not just as a BTS-adjacent curiosity but as a standalone body of work with its own gravitational pull. Lyrically, Jin's writing leans into universal emotions without diluting specificity, allowing listeners from different cultures and languages to project their own experiences onto the songs, a quality that often correlates with high user ratings and strong completion rates on streaming platforms, because listeners feel seen rather than instructed. Spotify's ecosystem, which amplifies songs that inspire saves, shares, and playlist ads, has proven particularly receptive to Jin's catalog, as fans curate his tracks into mood-based playlists, late-night reflection, healing pop, acoustic calm, thereby extending their reach and reinforcing favorable evaluations through consistent engagement. The vocal performance itself is a major driver of acclaim, with Jin's controlled vibrato, gentle dynamic shifts, and precise emotional timing creating moments that feel intimate even through headphones, a trait that streaming audiences often reward with repeat listening, and over time this repetition feeds back into the platform's recommendation systems, creating a virtuous cycle of discovery and affirmation. Beyond raw numbers, the discourse surrounding Jin's Spotify performance highlights a broader appreciation for authenticity in an era of maximalist pop, as listeners respond to music that prioritizes feeling over spectacle, and the high ratings attached to his solo songs suggest that many users value the calm confidence and emotional honesty he brings. It is also notable that Jin's solo releases attract a diverse demographic spread, with listeners who may not follow every BTS group release still gravitating toward his individual sound, a phenomenon reflected in steady daily streams and consistent listener retention that often accompany well-reviewed tracks. Critics and fans alike have pointed out that Jin's music rewards patience, revealing deeper textures and emotional nuances over time, which aligns with the kind of listening behavior, full track plays, replays, and long session durations, that Spotify's metrics quietly favor and that tend to correlate with higher perceived quality. The album's sequencing further enhances this experience, guiding listeners through a narrative flow that feels intentional rather than fragmented, encouraging front-to-back listening and contributing to favorable album-level ratings rather than isolated song spikes. Importantly, Jin's approach to solo work does not attempt to overshadow BTS's collective identity but instead complements it, offering a softer, introspective counterpoint that expands the group's artistic universe, and this balance appears to resonate strongly with listeners who appreciate both the familiarity of his voice and the freshness of his personal expression. Fan engagement on Spotify, through follows, saves, and organic playlisting, acts as a quiet but powerful endorsement, and the sustained positivity of these signals suggests that Jin's solo catalog is not only well-liked but trusted by listeners as music they can return to for comfort and meaning. In a competitive streaming landscape where attention is fragmented and trends move quickly, the continued high ratings of Jin's solo album and songs indicate an enduring appeal rooted in emotional clarity, vocal excellence, and thoughtful production, reaffirming his position not just as a member of one of the world's biggest groups but as a solo artist whose work stands on its own merit. Ultimately, Jin's Spotify success tells a story about the power of sincerity in pop music, showing that when an artist commits fully to honest expression and musical restraint, listeners respond with loyalty, positive evaluation, and long-term engagement, creating a legacy of appreciation that extends well beyond release week and solidifies his solo artistry as a meaningful chapter in his evolving career.